said, what are you talking about, Yank? And he handed me his nose in the cellophane wrapper of a cigarette pack. Man, I didn't want to take his nose, but I took his nose and put it in my pocket, and I went down there with that, naturally it was wrapped with that cellophane you pull off the cigarette pack. Went down to Central Building 3, and Zeb running around without a nose on his face. You talk about a weird sight. But it didn't hurt his looks too much, because he's about one of the most plug ugly individuals you've ever seen. He's heard me say that before, too. He's been there when I was giving my testimony. So anyway, I snatched him up, carried him down to that big hospital, that big metal door. CCI banged on that door, I pushed Zeb in, handed his nose in, and the next time I saw Zeb, he was a preacher. But what had happened, he told me, he said, I said, sew his nose back on everything. He said, what do you have? He said, Ron, you got to quit telling that story like that. He said, they didn't sew my nose back on. I said, well, what did they do, Zeb? He said, they cut a piece off my butt and made me a new nose. I said, that's a better story. They put Zeb in a solitary confinement cell. What had happened? Remember me talking about Big Gates? He went to the barber shop with me, and when I got my hair cut off, my Fu Manchu, he's about 6'5", 275 old man. Zeb was a tough man too, but he was only about 5'7", 165. So Pig, and we all hung around together. Pig had been fronting in drugs, but he finally just swore I was welcome. So Pig said no more drugs, so Zeb was going to take some drugs off the Big Pig. I remember Big Pig, he had a big set of choppers too, I remember that. And Zeb come at him, and he just reached down, lashed a hold of his nose, shook his head a few times, and ripped his nose slap off his face. But he was nice. He took his nose, went over to the sink in the cell, wrenched his nose off, pulled the sleeve off the cigarette pack, dropped his nose in there, and handed it to him and said, go on now, Zeb. Zeb found that Christian book, Run Baby Run, about Nicky Cruz, a New York gangster, in his cell. He read the book and got saved. He said he cried for 3 days. He was so caught up with being saved, the Holy Spirit got a hold of him so much, he couldn't stand it. He was just crying every day. Well, the administration was so caught up with a gangster like Zeb getting saved, they sent him to Greenwood. Y'all know where that is, don't you? The city of Greenwood around here, that was an institution. You know what I'm talking about? They sent him to Greenwood, and he stayed there at night, and during the day he went to Erskine Seminary and graduated and became a full-fledged preacher. Were you at Greenwood?
Yeah, I'm from Greenwood.
All right. So you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, he became a preacher, and he's the one that married me and Miss Deborah in the outside business park at Kirkland Correctional Institution. And then Michael Moore came in out of Texas. Texas stuff. He took any violent offender, he took them from outside, 400 or 500 men at the same time. Guys that were supporting their families on extended work release and stuff like that, paying the bills, doing good. He took them all out just for no reason. Luckily, they got rid of him. My sister said he'd come to work for him in Florida, and they dropped him there too. But thank God, he had no compassion. I had 2 college degrees while I was in prison, and I made straight A averages on both of them. Don't know how, but I did. And he come in. I was going for a Master of Divinity, to be a preacher, and Michael Moore came in and said inmates can no longer have anything but a GED. That's all they need. Which is stupid, get somebody to improve himself, and he come with that. But anyway, they're moving me outside from outside business in 1994, and I did the honorable thing. I told Deborah, I said, you can go if you want to. I said, I'm going to be stuck in a maximum security penitentiary. I'll probably never get out. And she got mad at me. She said, I married you for better or worse. I'll be here for you. And she was. She waited on me for 15 years. 15 years. So anyway, I started going up for parole, and that was a joke, and it should have been. I went up 6 times, never got a single vote. I was speaking at a Christian Life Assembly of God Church in Columbia, and the parole examiner was there, Rocky Renfro. And I said, when I was talking, I said, Rocky, what were my chances of making parole? He said, 0. You were not going to make parole. I went up to 7 times and got every single vote in the parole room. How many know what the number 7 is in the Bible? The number of fulfillment or completeness. I went up, there was a young black man sitting at the head of the board, and he said, Ron, it was like a shootout, you and some gangsters together, right? And he was trying to give me an out, like there was a bunch of gangsters. I said, no, sir. It wasn't like a shootout. I said, I was the only one with a weapon. It was cold-blooded murder. I wasn't going to lie. The Bible says you should know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. You can't lie, because then that takes God out of the equation. So I told him, he said, I believe you're sincere. The lady at the head of the board said, I believe you're sincere too. The man at the right, evidently he knew something about Central Western College. He said, you graduated from Central Western? And the chaplain books again, he graduated with honors, you know. So that's good. Wait outside. Anybody that knows the parole board, they're seeing about a dozen different institutions. So they don't take no more than 5 minutes at the most to make a decision if they take that. 5 minutes went by, 10 minutes went by, 15 minutes went by, about 20 minutes, which is unheard of, and they come out and said, you made it. Hallelujah! Hallelujah! Glory to God! You talk about crocodile tears. I couldn't control them. Gush, boy, they come. Praise God. And then, they didn't release you right then. First of all, and I was scared to death, I had to take a psychological. I said, man, how am I going to pass one of them things? I took it and they said, you're pretty normal. I said, oh, God, thank you. But you're all right. And then I got to have it. I didn't know this. I'm going to the Providence home where I'm a chaplain down in Columbia, the Providence home. And I'm going there. I figured they'd let me go there and get a job there because you got to have a job when you're on parole. But they called up Ken Ritchie, who was over the Providence home at the time, and said, Ron's got to have a job before he gets out on parole. Can you see my resume? Can you see them getting around the water cooler? Look at this resume. Ex-death row inmate, armed robber, safecracker, car thief, burglar. We need that man on this job. It was a total impossibility. They told me that one night. The very next morning, I'm coming back out in the yard trying to figure out how I'm going to get me a job, so I'm going to call some people. And there's a guy named Joe Foster out in the yard. He's never called me over before, never talked to me. I knew of him because he taught a purpose-driven life Bible study in prison, and he knew of me because of all my Christian activities. But for the first time, he called me over and said, Ron, what's going on? I told him about the parole and everything. And I wasn't even thinking about this, but I thought he was some kind of a preacher. I said, but I can't get out because I don't have a job. I said, I got to figure out where to get a job. He said, you got one now? I said, what are you talking about? He said, I just started my own construction company, Lakewood Home Builders. You can come to work for me. And ladies and gentlemen, that's how I got out of prison. I'll never forget when I got out, there was a whole bunch of people waiting for me out there. Bob McAllister used to be chief of staff for Governor Carroll Campbell. People said, Ron, the reason you made parole was Bob McAllister went up with you. I said, yeah, but that was the third time Bob McAllister went up with me. I didn't make it them other times. I made parole because Jesus was in that parole room. Jesus! Bob carried me to the Elizabeth thicket, ordered me a good steak dinner. I'd had some steak dinner because I'd been outside. I made sure I got me some steak dinner, grilled them myself. Yeah, it was good. He was waiting, my first cousin from Missouri, and just a whole bunch of people. My sister, brother-in-law, and all them was out there. I went to the Providence home. I was lost, man. You figure, I've been in prison 37 and a half years in South Carolina, 8 and a half in Florida, 46 years. That was in September of 2005. I was 64 then, so I spent 46 years out of 64. I didn't know a thing about society. I didn't know how to pump gas. They pumped gas for us when we went in. You know, I went to get my driver's license, and the lady was asking me, you know, hit the brights and hit the dim. I was reaching down the floor looking at that little button. Y'all remember that, do you? Oh, some of y'all don't remember that. She looked at me like I was some kind of nut here. I got my driver's license. Exactly 7 weeks. I like that 7 number. 49 days after I got out, I got my driver's license. Well, I was a popular man for the first couple of months. I had so many horns honking at me. They loved me driving in South Carolina. I don't know why I didn't get in a wreck. I ran through a barbed wire fence one time with a buffalo herd. And I'm talking about buffalo. This guy in Lugoff owns a buffalo herd named C. Ray Mile. And I was cutting the corner one time, and that car slid off and ran right through the fence. But Luckily, God spared me one more time, so praise God for that. I went to the Providence home, stayed there for 8 months. I was ordained as a Southern Baptist minister. Don't hold that against me. I'm pretty much, if you believe in Jesus, me and you are all right. I don't hold to any one particular theology. Jesus Christ is the answer. They ordained me as a Southern Baptist minister on February the 10th, 2008, something like that. I got my own 501c3 ministry, Smart Ministry. We started out this talk. Ronald Francis Smart will die in the electric chair. That was a verdict of 9 women and 3 men handed down Lexington County General Sessions Court. On the wall of my office, my ordained certificate says, Ronald Francis Smart, my ordination certificate says, Ronald Francis Smart is ordained to preach the gospel. What a contrast from Ronald Francis Smart will die in the electric chair to Ronald Francis Smart is ordained to preach the gospel. Amazing grace. How sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.